thank you for being here today. I'm still kind of shocked. I don't know how this could possibly have happened. Really, the seminal moment of my life occurred at Candlestick Park at a Giants game in 1962. My dad and my godfather took me to my first Giants game. They'd already told me about Russ Hodges and Lon Simmons, baseball on the radio, and I was a big fan that way. And I was such a big fan still of Russ and Lon that first game we sat on the upper deck on the first base side at the stick. And I could see into the broadcast booths, and I spent more time with my binoculars looking at Russ and Lon while the game was being played and the visiting broadcasters than even the players on the field. In fact, this is when the moment that changed my life occurred. I'm looking into that visiting broadcast booth, and right in the middle of an inning, there's a batter at the plate, and that broadcaster says, "There's a curveball, low and outside, ball 2." And then he grabbed a big handful of, I thought it was French fries, and he jammed all these French fries into his mouth. He's chewing on those fries, and while he's still chewing, the next pitch comes in, and he says, without missing a beat, "There's a fastball outside, ball 3." Then he grabbed a cup full of whatever. He took a big pull on that cup, and as a 10-year-old, I sat there and said, "That is the life for me." Now, it's not that easy for anybody in baseball, player, broadcaster, to be a member of that family because Dad's never home. And I know all of my kids had some interesting things that occurred in their lives, a little bit different maybe than a lot of people's lives. My daughter Emily once, with my daughter Holly, they came to spring training with me in Miami when I was with the Orioles. And my daughter Emily was not quite 3 years old. And I'm in the middle of an inning. My partner on the broadcast had taken a walk. He was getting a hot dog. I don't know where he was. And there was a 3-ball, 2-strike count on the batter. And my little daughter Emily tugged at my Hawaiian shirt. So I turned and said, "What is it, Em?" And she said, "Dad, I have to go potty." Can you hold it for just a minute, sweetheart? "No, I have to go bad." So the pitch came in and it was fouled away. Still 3-2. And I jumped up, grabbed her, ran her down to the bathroom, put her in a stall, and I said, "Okay, now don't touch anything and don't leave. I'll be right back." So I ran back to the booth, and the runner is now at first base. But I don't know how he got there. It was a 3-ball, 2-strike count when I left. So I turned to the engineer, and he's sitting there reading a Robert Parker novel. And I say, "Hey, how did he get on first base?" He says, "Oh, there's a guy on first." So I ran down the hall until I found a couple of sports writers, and I said, "How'd that guy get on first?" He said, "Oh, he walked." So I ran back into the booth, turned the mic back on, and said, "Outside, ball 4." Now here's whoever. There's ball 1, and a strike. Ball 2, oh, strike 2. He's working very quickly. Here's the pitch. Fouled away, still 2-2. And then it hit me. Oh, Emily. Turned the mic off, ran down, grabbed Emily, washed her hands, got her all washed up. And I had this bad feeling that this guy was also going to be on base, and this might just go on all night long. Fortunately, he was still up. End of would-be disaster. Now, I want to just introduce my family. They're here. They've taken time from their busy lives. I'm so proud of them, and maybe you can just say hello to them. First off, my beautiful wife, Janine, my daughters, Michelle, Emily, Alex, and my daughter Holly with her husband, Paul Gallagher. Maybe a lot of you didn't realize that there's a lot more history to being a baseball broadcaster than even you know. I once found a passage in the Psalms, a biblical passage, and the tradition of this business goes back to biblical times. The psalm says, "Lord, I am but a wayfarer before you, a pilgrim like my fathers, a wandering play-by-play poet." That was my interpretation of that passage. cast not your gaze upon me, lest I perish from the face of the earth. And I'm reminded of that today because I'm a little bit overwhelmed by this honor with all of these great baseball players here gathered in one place. And I do feel particularly lucky and blessed that they gave me this award. I'm still having a hard time figuring it out. But there were many people who gave me a lot of help, and one of them was just about to head out on a European vacation planned a long time ago with his wife, my lawyer and his partner, and they moved heaven and earth and moved the vacation back till tomorrow. And I hope he gets there in time. Please say hello to my lawyer and my great friend, Ron Shapiro, and also Michael Moss. And a great friend for many years, accountant. He's helped me manage the tangled finances because I have no clue what I'm doing in that regard. When I called him and said, hey, they're giving me this award at the Hall of Fame, he said, oh, congratulations. How much is that going to cost? Brian Woods. Thank you, Brian. Now, also in San Francisco, we have not only a great history of broadcasters with Russ Hodges, Lon Simmons, whom I grew up listening to, idolizing. Right now, two former players who are great broadcasters, and I'm a little sheepish being here today because nobody does a better job than they do, and I'm talking about Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper. And Mike Krukow, a former Cub. Yeah, there we go. Also, the best young play-by-play man in the business, and I fully expect 30 years from now, I'll tune in a Giants game. Let's see, 30 years, I probably would have just retired, maybe the year before. And he told the Giants, said, I have to be there with John. I want to be there. And they said, well, who's going to broadcast the game? He says, I don't care. Get somebody. And here he is. Please say hello to Dave Fleming. I'm going to turn on that radio in 30 years. This is Dave Fleming, along with Tim Lincecum, Giants baseball on the radio. Yeah. Now, I don't want to keep thanking people like they do in the Academy Awards and all that, but my dad did turn me on to the baseball on the radio, and he said, hey, you might enjoy this. There's this guy, Willie Mays. He's pretty good. Take a listen. So, of course, I loved it. So, thanks, Dad. And also, Russ Hodges and Lon Simmons. Lon Simmons, who is semi-retired now, still involved with the Giants, but he lives out in Maui. Lon called me when I got this award, and he said to me, congratulations. By the way, can you get me a phone number and a name up there in Cooperstown? I have a lot of people who are outraged about this and want to see if they can get it overturned. Not many people have friends as close as that. Now, also, my first job as a big league broadcaster in 1974 with the Oakland Athletics. They were the best team in baseball, the team of Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, Vida Blue, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, on down the list, Raleigh Fingers. What a ball club. And I think one of the great teams of all time, and I think they're underappreciated. I think they don't get their just due. They had fired, Charlie Finley was the owner, he had fired an outstanding broadcaster, Jim Woods. And they said, why would you fire Jim Woods, Charlie? He's so good. And Charlie said, well, he wasn't exciting enough when nothing was happening. So I get hired, and Monty Moore was the reason I got hired. He heard my tape. He says, I never heard of this kid. I was 22 years old. I never heard of this guy, but the tape is damn good. And so he told Charlie, this is the guy we need to hire. So now we go to spring training. We had the first broadcast, and Monty's on the air at Rendezvous Park in Mesa, Arizona. And I'm thinking, not exciting enough when nothing's happening. So I start practicing a few things because I didn't want to screw this job up. And I'm thinking things like, there's a one-hopper right to shortstop. Oh, baby. What are the odds he could have hit that ball anywhere? It went right to the shortstop. Is that incredible? Look at that pop-up. It's 8 miles up in the air. Unbelievable. Anyway, Monty turned the mic off. He says, what the hell are you doing? So I tried to explain it to him. He says, oh, hold on. Let me finish this inning. So Monty finishes the inning. I explained it to him after the inning. He says, well, that's just a bunch of bull. We hired you because you do a good job. Just go do that. Be yourself. And I don't want to hear any more of that baloney. And he was right. That was a great season. We got good write-ups in the press. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. And then just before the start of the next spring training, Charlie fired me. And I don't think really he even remembered that he'd hired me. I think he thought he was firing Jim Woods all over again. So it goes. But I've kind of rebounded a little bit with some other ball clubs. I went to Baltimore, which was a great thing for me. Got to know Earl Weaver. I learned a lot of things from a lot of people who are up on this stage today. And Earl, the great Earl of Baltimore, I learned so many things from him. But one day he put on a suicide squeeze in Milwaukee. And he had not had a sign for a squeeze. He hated the squeeze. So we asked him, said, Earl, I thought you said you didn't have a sign for the squeeze. And he says, no, I don't have one. Well, how'd you put the squeeze on? He says, I whistled out at Rip Sr. over at third base, the coach. And he turned to me and said, Rip, squeeze, squeeze. I said, well, Monitor's playing third. He didn't hear that? Earl said, well, I guess not. So I asked Paul Monitor all these years later, last night, about that. And Monitor says, well, Earl was always screaming about something. And I'm sure I just blocked it out like everything else he was screaming about. Sometimes the genius is in the small details, Earl. Also, a guy who was so good to me, I went and did Red Sox games for a time. Ken Coleman, he wanted me to come there. One of the most generous men that I ever worked with. It was like having my agent in the booth with me every day. He just was always trying to make me look good. He wrote a diary of one of our seasons together called Diary of a Sportscaster. I just wanted to read you one of those passages just to give you an idea of how close Ken and I were and what a great guy he was. Tuesday, May the 6th, 1982. After the game tonight in Seattle, John was a little bit down. So we went out drinking together. John didn't drink. But this night he decided to have some beer. After his 27th beer, I sensed that he was still down a little bit. So I got him into a friendly game of poker. I took him for $4,000. I'm hoping that I can help John relax like this again real soon. Wow, what writing. Now, I used to kid Joe when he'd come up here for the Hall of Fame ceremonies every year. And I would say to him, says, well, you're going up there to baseball's Mount Olympus to rub elbows with all of your fellow baseball immortals, the gods of the game. And, it was my little wry comment to Joe. And now I've been up here the last few days, and it turns out I wasn't joking after all. I walk into a room, and look there. It's Zeus, Henry Aaron. Oh, look over there. It's Apollo, Willie Mays. Oh, my God. Is that Whitey Ford? Oh, there's Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. Wow, Bob Feller, one of the gods of the game. So I've been walking on air ever since I got into town. And again, I'm not sure how it happened, but I'm grateful to you all. I'm grateful for all of my family and friends who made the trip all the way here to Cooperstown. And let's get on to the real show here very soon. I wanted to congratulate all of the inductees and also Bill Madden of the Daily News, richly deserved. And, hey, I'm a kid from Hayward. I just wanted a job where I could eat French fries while I was working. And now here I am today. So thank you very much. Thank you.